not go mistaking this for your standard Peugeot RCZ, because this has one important additional letter. This is the 2015 Peugeot RCZ R, and that R means that it packs 267 brake horsepower, will do 0 to 62 in 5.9 seconds and go on to a top speed of 155 miles per hour. And that sounds something like this. Now those performance figures makes this car quite a potent performance machine, and it has the looks to back it up. I mean, the RCZ was always a good looking car, but with the extra dose of aggression that this car has, with its boot lip spoiler and larger alloy wheels, lower profile, its wide stance and its double bubble roof, in this matte black and red, it looks absolutely stunning. It's got a subtle aggression to it. A lot of cars go too much one way or the other, but this car sort of has a little bit of distilled anger to it. And the looks are just fantastic. It's very, very French. Its design, it's flamboyant, it's sophisticated. But that is enough about the way this car looks. What about the way it goes? Well, if you put your foot down, pretty quickly, that's how it goes. Pretty damn quickly. Once that turbo spools up, this 1.6 litre petrol engine really gets underway. Initial acceleration, because of the slight lag from the turbo, isn't, you know, boom in your face immediate, but literally once it starts picking up momentum, it is relentless in the way that it surges on down the road. And it's a pretty good soundtrack too. It just sort of wills you on. Mid-range, it's got this little burble and, oh, it sounds fantastic. There's a lovely short throw 6-speed gearbox here as well, which is your perfect companion when you're rowing through the gears and want to get underway at a bit of a pace. So yes, 267 brake horsepower makes its way to the ground via the front wheels. Is there understeer? Not really. There's so much grip in this car that you can really throw it into corners. Its wide stance and super grippy tyres means that it just clings on and clings on. So you can surge on through these twisting roads at an incredible pace, and it's just so composed all of the time. Relatively stiff suspension also means there's a lack of body roll. But when you settle down and you start cruising around, you're left with the interior. Now, the interior is a bit hit and miss, I will freely admit. It's a bit dated. You've got Peugeot's very old satellite navigation system that none of their new cars use. You've got sort of knobs and dials from cars from about 4 or 5 years ago, and unfortunately that does date the entire cabin. However, it does have its upsides. Whilst you don't have wheel mounted button shortcuts, you do have this beautiful red stitching and leather trim that goes throughout the interior. There's this faux brushed aluminium all over the place and a very neat little clock in the centre display. But the star of the cabin has to be these seats. They are fantastic. Really supportive in all the right places. They look excellent, especially with the little R insignias in the headrests. And they're both comfortable and exactly what you're after in this sort of performance car. And then we move on to some of the more surprising things about this car, such as visibility. Out the front, great big windscreens. We've got some nice big wing mirrors, which you get a fantastic view of the hips of this car, which just serves to make it feel that little bit special. But out the back you have a fantastic level of visibility. Nice big wide window. Yeah, it's got that bubble to it, but you can see perfectly fine out of it. And you know, most performance cars of this calibre, you're struggling for rear visibility and they're a nightmare to park. This car is an absolute doddle. It also has a vast boot for a coupe as well, so that box is very definitely ticked. What about MPG? Well, combined this week we've got about 36 MPG out of it, so it won't break the bank either. All of that, and then you can kick a gear and absolutely go for it. I mean, really, come on. I mean, there is a little bit of torque steer, but it's perfectly manageable in this car, I have to say. Some cars, when it comes to torque steer, you are absolutely wrestling it, but as this car sort of scrabbles for grip initially, A firm grip on the wheel is all you really need. They always say practicality is good with the RCZ R. That is true, the big boot, the visibility as I've mentioned. The rear seats, this is a 2+2 and well, unless your children are amputees, I wouldn't try putting them back there. Let's talk about price, because inevitably we have to. It costs about £32,000, just under, and that's quite expensive. That's Audi TT money. And of course the Audi has that much desired premium badge. What you do get with the RCZ R is some fantastic engineering, that brilliant chassis, that well-judged suspension. All of that comes at the hands of Peugeot Sport. Now, Peugeot went through some hard times not that long ago. Lots of car manufacturers did. Everyone had to make cutback. Unfortunately, some of the casualties were Peugeot's World Endurance Championship efforts and their rallying. However, those people had to find new jobs, and they found themselves in Peugeot Sport. This car is their first effort, and it has been put together sublimely. You can tell that the engineers really know a thing or two about good chassis engineering. Do you know, whilst it might be Audi TT money, the RCZ-R does have something that the Audi TT does not have, and that's a sense of occasion. This car feels special. Everything from the way it looks, how flamboyant everything is about the car, the fact that you've got these racy seats, the soundtrack, the looks you get off of other people, its width that you can tell just from being sat in the cockpit. It has all of that, and the TT just doesn't. This has a real soul, real character to it. I think that's something that will make it a future classic, you know? You know, I think that this may just be the best Peugeot for a decade. Maybe not such a hard thing considering some of their past efforts, but no, it's a real fantastic piece of engineering, this. But alas, the end of this year, it goes out of production. This is your last chance to get your hands on a brand new RCZ-R. I think they're going to be a fantastic second-hand buy one day. It really bodes well for the new 208 GTI by Peugeot Sport, which we're getting very soon. I very much look forward to that. You know, it's not very often that press cars that I get, I say I'd buy with my own money, but do you know what? I love this RCZ-R. It is absolutely fantastic.